Hi friends, did you notice? Did you see what I was doing? It's the last month of the school year. This blue arch that I just made, the blue arc, means that we've made it all the way to May. And our preschool year goes September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. We made it. We've done all of the months. We've done all of the colors that we do at preschool. When we do yellow in September, orange in October, brown in November, red in December, black and white in January, pink in February, green in March, purple in April, and then blue in May. We're here. And it is the letter Y, and it's the color blue for May. Except now things are going to seem a little tricky because the thing we're talking about today isn't blue yarn. It's yellow yarn, a double Y. The letter of the week is Y, and so we're talking about yellow yarn. I didn't want to do blue yarn because that's like B word. But I want to do a Y word, and we have a color yellow. I've got yellow yarn right here. And this yellow yarn used to be so full, like we would fit, this whole container was so wrapped around of yarn that it would stick out all the way out here. And now look, it's not as thick as it used to be because we've used so much of this yarn over the years. And we're going to use this today. For the first time in the whole school year, our alphabet project does not only have paper. There's some paper to make the letter shape, but then there's something else that we glue on top. It's this. Part of the reason why this is so small is because we already cut off so many little pieces. So everyone who was going to do their alphabet project here has little pieces of yellow yarn. And I already did mine, but I did it flat because with this yellow yarn, it needs extra drying time. So look here at how I did it flat on a table. And then sometime you can try to make a yellow yarn letter Y. Okay, so watch. Okay, so I'm going to get all the things out of my bag. And there are only 2 pieces of paper, and the rest are not paper. I'll be using my glue bottle today to get more practice. And the first thing is a long line on a long yellow rectangle. And that's me putting it on a slant. So it's not straight up and down. It's on a slant, like a slide. And then I have a short yellow rectangle. And that goes kind of in the middle to match up on the top. And that's the lowercase y. And these are all the yarns. The pieces of yarn, I'm kind of pulling them apart because I don't want to put them all in one spot. And watch this new glue technique. It's not a dot does a lot, and it's not one line. It's not puddles of glue either. It's like thin zigzags of glue, so that wherever my yarn lands, it's probably going to touch some glue. And probably I'm going to get a little bit of glue on my fingers. But see, I'm just kind of spreading it around. And when I have one piece left, oh look, then do you notice there's one piece sticking off? I'm going to move it, put it back in there. Oh, move it again. And rub off that little extra glue. And there's my Y is for yarn, Y is for yellow yarn, and they all stayed on. That's how I did it. And I did give it some drying time before I'm holding it up now because it's had enough time to dry. So look, the yarn is sticking. There is still some glue that's wet because I did this just before I put up the blue tape. So it's not been drying for very long, but enough long that this yarn is stuck well enough so when I hold it up, it doesn't fall. And look, there is real yarn on here. There is real fabric, cloth, not only paper. The only one. If you look at all the other alphabet projects, you would be able to see that they're all just paper, 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 only paper. Paper and glue, paper on top of paper, all different shapes, all different colors. But now we have one that's changed things and we have real yarn. And I'm going to stick it right over here. Tuck it right in there so that we can see it and be reminded all day that the letter of the week is Y. The letter of the week is Y. Y is for yellow. Y is for yarn. The letter of the week is Y. One of my favorite things to do when it's Y week is to imagine that when I ask somebody, what's the letter of the week? And that person says, why? I'm pretending that they're asking me the question, why? Like our question cube has who, where, when, what, why. This word says, why? There is a letter Y in it, but this word together means like, why? Why do you want to know? Why are you doing that? Why do I have to? Why? So here's the joke. So one person says, what's the letter of the week? The other person says, why? This person says, because I want to know. That's why. Will you please tell me what's the letter of the week? Why? Because I want to know. That's why. Please just tell me what is the letter of the week? Why? Because I want to know. That's why. Why? Because I wish that you would just tell me. What is the letter of the week? Why? Because I want to know. The letter is Y. Oh, the letter is Y. Do you get it? It's a joke. Maybe someone can play it with you sometime. In real life, if you're experiencing it, it might make more sense to you. But it is a funny word joke because when I say why about the letter, it's the same as me saying why the question. And so we can have a lot of fun about that. I've got a book to show you. And it's a book about yarn. It's called Extra Yarn. There's the first part of the book is what we're going to look at during circle time today. This friend right here is named Annabelle. And there is a teacher in my town who is a teacher for music for all the kids who go to her school. And she has kids who go to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and she's the teacher for all of them. She uses this book in her big school. So when we do this today, it's kind of like we're doing the big school. I want to show you the beginning of this book about Annabelle and what she does with her yarn. It's called Extra Yarn. Like if you have extra of something, that means that you have maybe more than you need, or you have more than you thought you would. Like, oh, there's extra here. Well, look at Annabelle. This is her. She's got a little dog, and she has a box. And it tells us, on a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either white of snow or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. Oh, that's different than us today. We only had one color of yarn. We had yellow yarn, but this says Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars, too. Her dog is named Mars, we just found out. But there was still extra yarn. And when Annabelle and Mars went for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." She says, "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. But it turned out he was jealous. He was feeling left out in life, that he didn't have a colorful yarn sweater. Look what she must have done. It doesn't tell us, but it tells us by the picture that it looks like she made a yarn sweater for him and his dog. Let's see the next page, what it says. And even after she'd made a sweater for Nate and his dog, that's right, it wasn't him that went and got one. She did knit it for him and for herself and Mars. She still had extra yarn. She's wrapping that around a tree. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet," said Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everybody. Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Well, then I could knit one for everyone," said Annabelle, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turned out she could. And she did. Even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton, and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louis. She made sweaters for everyone except for Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat, and even then, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats and for the other animals too. Soon, people thought, soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even need sweaters. Like a mailbox won't feel cold because it's not alive, but she made it a sweater. She made the birdhouse a sweater. She made the house a sweater. Look at this. Things began to change in that little town. Can you tell how things are changing in that little town? We could compare. Look, this is that page. And now let's compare to the town at the beginning. Here is, this might be the biggest picture of the town. Yep, this is the biggest picture. So there's the town here before any knitting happened. And look at it now. If I compare this and see what's the same and what's different, I can see a difference. I can see for sure how the yarn has changed the way that all of the buildings and houses look. Let's see. News of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn spread, and people came to visit from around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. Here comes an adventure part. One day, an archduke who was very fond of clothes sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. So he's somebody who's used to being in charge, used to getting what he wants because he's the boss of things and acts like the boss of things. And this is the last page we're going to read because I want you to notice Annabelle is still knitting with her yarn. And look, she's even knitting to cover up a vehicle. She loves this project. She loves her yarn. She loves what she's doing. Let's see what happens. When the Archduke says, "Little girl, I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I am willing to offer you $1 million. No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The Archduke's mustache twitched. $2 million, he said. Annabelle shook her head. No thanks. 10 million, shouted the Archduke. Take it or leave it. Leave it, said Annabelle. I won't sell the yarn. And she didn't. $10 million? He said he would give her $10 million? I've never had $10 million. I've never had $1 million. She didn't care. She loved this more than money. And at the very last picture, we see that she's even looking happy in a sweater-covered tree. I don't knit very much. I have learned how before, and I've done it, and it was harder for me than a different technique. A different thing I do with yarn is crochet, and I've kind of been like Annabelle before. I made this once. Now, I had to use all these were different balls of yarn to do. So, like, I had to use light red, dark red, pink, light purple, purple, blue, light blue, teal, kind of like a mossy green, bright yellow, golden yellow. Kind of, this is like an orangey red, and this is a red, and this is a darker red, and a brown, and a black, and go round and round. So that was kind of like Annabelle, using lots of extra yarn and sewing it together. I did crochet, she did knitting. Then I was extra like her because, friends, I have a little piece of string on here to make this like a little, almost like a little skirt, but I don't wear it. No human wears it. I put it on a lampshade at preschool. And I took it off to show you now. So I'll put a picture at the end of circle time so you can see where this always goes. And it's kind of like I'm Annabelle. Does the lampshade need to be warm? No, the lampshade can't feel anything. But I put it on for decoration, and it looks so cozy. I had to use lots of long pieces of yarn. In the book, if we notice, Annabelle's, oh, well, we can see it right here on the title page. Annabelle has one piece of yarn. She didn't cut these like our alphabet project and have little pieces here, here, here. This is one piece that's going round and 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 round. I used one piece of yarn today. I used one piece folded, spread out, to make some pretend things. I didn't use glue for this. It was just me moving the yarn around and pretending I was making drawings or letters. So I want to show it to you. Here it comes. All right. So that's my one piece of yellow. And look, I made it look like a bow. And now I'm just seeing if I move it around and I make little blobby blobs. Look what I'm pretending now. That's something that goes in water. The water down there, it was a boat. Now, oh, I'm trying to make my letter a K. What am I doing now? I'm turning it like, it's like the sun. Or it could be the moon. Or look, now I could try to work to make a crescent moon shape. It's really tricky. There is a moon shape. Not a full moon, a crescent moon. Now here's a funny one. Scrunch it up, a pile of spaghetti. Make it long and straight. And then look what I'm trying to do. See if you can guess. I'm trying to make something that's supposed to look like a place where someone could live. With a door. That was supposed to be a house. And here's my last one to make for you. How I feel about you. I love you. That was tricky. Took me a lot of patience and muscle work, because you probably noticed that sometimes when I was trying to get the yarn to stay in one place, it would move. I really had to work on just letting that be a process, something I was trying to do and seeing how it worked out. And we're going to do the same thing for journal time. But this time I'm using a blue crayon. I'm not using yarn for it. And I'm doing blue because it's our color of the month and it'll show up. Have you noticed before, if you've tried to use, say, a color like yellow on paper, if I don't press very hard, it doesn't show up very well. And I want this to show up really well. So I'm using a darker blue. And here's the challenge. One long continuous line, not lifting my crayon at all, is tricky. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to try to make a picture like of a sunshine. Remember, I tried to do it with my yarn and I made just a circle shape. Well, with my crayon, I am going to go ahead and make the sun rays without ever lifting my crayon. So here, watch how this goes. So first I'm going to make a circle. Don't lift up, don't lift up. And now normally I might lift up my crayon to get to a new spot, but I'm not going to. I'll just make some marks. Don't lift up, don't lift up, don't lift up, don't lift up. I'm just coloring, 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 coloring. That was pretty easy for me. 48 years old. I've done this kind of thing a lot. Now I'm going to try to make a car without lifting it up. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there's the front of the car, there's the top of the car, there's the back of the car. And then, oh, don't lift up. So there's a wheel. And now I got to get over there, but don't lift up. Don't lift up. So there's a wheel. Don't lift up. Because now I want to go make some lights. So go back over here. There's a light on the front and a light on the back. And I want to make a window. So I'll go up here. And now I want to go back and make some more windows. This is so tricky. I'm going tracing kind of on the back to make some of that. Now, if I want to make a door, I got to go in here. And then if I want to go make some little things in the middle, like the hubcaps. That was all one line. I never lifted up my crayon. My hand and brain worked together for that because of me being a grown-up. Your hand and brain might start to work together like that as well. Now for the trickiest part, which means that these letters are not going to look very much the same as regular letters that you find in the book. Because look, if I want to make my letter K for my name, I make a line down, then I always used to have to lift up to go here. But if I'm going to make my line and not lift up, then I got to go back here, go up, go down, and go like that. So it got a little more bubbly because of how my crayon had to go back up. There's a way of writing called cursive. And it's a way that I learned when I was little, that you never lift up your pencil or crayon when you're doing cursive. So like this, I would make my K and then watch. My crayon will not ever lift up. K-R-I-S-T-I-N. There. Done. Now you make a little line across, dot, dot. That's the cursive way for my name. Because look, when I write it in regular handwriting, look at how often my crayon lifts off the paper. So if you want to ever practice writing your name in cursive style, it would mean that you would make your letter K-R-I. You could try to never lift up your pencil, your crayon. It doesn't look the same as either of these, but I was just practicing making this crayon stay on the paper, pretending like it's a magnet. It can't even get off. It's stuck on like a magnet. I'll tell you something else that's true. Same as that friend Annabelle had extra yarn. I have extra love for you. I have love for you and appreciation for you that goes on and on and on. And when I think about you, it's like it wraps around everything. It wraps around the trees, it wraps around the houses, it wraps around the lamps. That reminds me, friends, I'm going to show you the picture of the lamp covered in that yarn skirt before we wave goodbye. So here it is. The lamp is covered. Oh, little friends, let me get our yellow yarn wide and tell you thank you for coming to Circle Time. Thank you for being here for the first Circle Time of May, where the new color is blue, and we're talking about yellow yarn and how much extra love you have for the things you like to do, for the things around you, is the same as I have for you. Bye, sweethearts.